Hey, shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker, and thanks again for listening to Shout Out from the Pit. Just a few admin notes before we launch into our show. First, thanks for the great feedback. Please keep it coming and don't hold back. Your feedback improves the show, and that matters a great deal to Redbeard and me. Reminders, we're always looking for folks to share their experience, strength, and hope. If you've overcome something and have a toolbox that can provide others with hope to overcome their challenges, let us know. Check out shoutoutfromthepit.com and briefly share your story under our contact tab. Remember to give us just your first name and what state or country you're from. And be sure to subscribe to shoutoutfromthepit.com and share it with a friend because, hey, it's for free and for fun. Okay, so here's what to expect from this show. Ben Grimes returns, and the title of this episode is We Band of Brothers. Ben is a returning guest from episode 28, sharing powerful techniques with the tribe on dealing with trauma. When I say powerful, that's an understatement. The fellows that participated in this episode have all experienced their own versions of hell. Ben had to get back to Kentucky immediately following the show, and that gave me a chance to chat with the tribe and get their honest feedback. And folks, I completely agree with them when they say Ben's method of dealing with trauma is great medicine. So, speaking for the tribe and myself, I pray you get as much from the episode as we did. And a word on anonymity. Ben is one of the absolute few on this platform that breaks his anonymity because, frankly, his outreach is already out there, and he's very open about helping folks with tools and techniques that have helped him and many others. And so, with that, on with the show. All right. All right, here we go. Shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker coming at you raw and uncensored. And as always, only God knows what's going to happen on this show. Welcome to Shout Out from the Pit, where the host sucks, but the guests are awesome. I'm the host, and Redbeard, the nerd in the basement, as he says, is my partner and producer. Our goal is to bring stories and topics designed to add to your toolbox as you trudge the road to happy destiny. All right, this is going to be a fun show. Joining us today are Josh, Tony, Pat, Jeremy, and our returning guest, Ben Grimes. Just to back up a little bit, Josh was episode 2. Jeremy, we did a show with you. Oh gosh, yours aired episode 30, and then of course the other guys, you know, you've heard their voices plenty of times. They're all part of the tribe here, and we're growing in our little group of happy-go-lucky guys trudging this road to happy destiny. Ben, your show was, I think, episode 26 or 27. I'm not even sure.
I think 27, maybe.
27. Okay, yeah. And we talked about on that show how you do this trauma program, which I'm not going to get into. I'm going to let you do that. But before we do, who would I be if I didn't do a random fact? All right. So, random fact. Did you know that today is Pat's sobriety birthday?
Hey.
All right. So, that's our random fact for the day. So, again, the show's going to be a little bit different. Ben shared his debut with us previously, and I'm so grateful, Ben, that you're back. I do want to ask you, before we get started, how is it going down in Paducah?
Man, the phrase drinking from a fire hose is it's great. It's all great, good things. I've now, integrated into the community and doing, starting some initiatives, getting a great response. I've got a phenomenal staff there pulling, more than their weight. It's awesome. It's awesome. But yeah, I'm spinning a lot of plates,
Wow.
And so it's good times.
So you are going to host the show Dial M for Murder?
Dial M for Murder. I'm directing that. Yeah, I just had auditions. I've got a cast that I think it's going to be announced today. So, we start rehearsals on Monday. So,
wow,
yeah.
And that goes live October 23rd?
Let's see. It's like you can put me on the spot. I think it's like the 14th through the 26th,
Wow.
somewhere in that neighborhood.
All right, so all that tapping you hear in the background is Danny. I didn't do his nails. So. And he's just, our Danny's got to run around and see
Absolutely.
everybody. All right, so we are still my wife and I are trying to do a road trip to come out and see that.
Yeah.
I am due for a surgery at the beginning of October. So if I don't make this one, I want to take you up on your offer to come out and watch one of these shows in the future.
Oh, yeah.
But to the audience, if you're by any chance anywhere near Paducah in the great state of Tennessee, or is that, did they move to Kentucky?
Kentucky.
Yeah, they moved. Okay, so Paducah has moved to Kentucky. Okay. All right. So, but what is the name of the outfit there?
Yeah, Market House Theater.
Market House Theater. So, folks, commit that to memory. You will not be disappointed. And before we even move, and I'm going to just give it to you, your show that I originally saw you at, Death of Kings,
that's right,
is performing here in Little Rock, September
18th. 18th, yeah. We opens up the 18th and runs that just 3 public performances at the Museum of Fine Arts.
Okay, let's do a shameless plug here. Say that again.
Yeah, so show opens September 18th. It runs 3 public performances. There's going to be a series of student performances, which is pretty interesting. This is some pretty heavy stuff, but there's a lot of cross sectionality between mental health, both with teens. They're fighting the same battles that some of us are fighting, and so the museum approached me and they wanted to do the show, and we're having a public performance 18th through the 21st, I believe, so get your tickets.
Okay. Yeah. Anytime I can do a shameless plug for you, I'm going to. And now you've just opened up another area of interest of mine that I'm going to table for the sake of time, but talk to you later about these teenagers.
Yeah.
All right. And so again, let me just have my brothers that I hang out with most often just give a shout out. Tony.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody.
That was Josh.
Oh, yeah, that's Josh. Hey.
Hey, everybody. This is Jeremy. Glad to be here.
Pat, good afternoon.
All right. And without further ado, this show now is being tossed over to my brother, Ben. Ben, it's all on you.
Well, thanks, Bob. I really appreciate you having me back. It's always an honor to be here. I just had such a great time last time talking to you guys. And it's a gift to be able to share space with good-hearted men, So when you talk to me about, doing this program and coming up again, I was like, well, the breach and what we talked about in the show, it's this program that I've come up with, that really comes from my background of being an actor and a theater guy and somehow finding myself in the military and trying to make sense of those two things and trying to bring those two things together. And one of the things that I found is that there are a lot of similarities between those two groups, right? So both groups believe in service. Both groups believe in working together as a team and in serving something better or greater than yourself. And then the other part of it is that in my personal journey, when I came out of my last deployment, I had some of the common issues that we all have faced from time to time. I had depression and anxiety. I was suffering from PTS. And one of the things that helped me in that fight was actually getting back into theater. And I thought, well, shoot, there may be something to this. So I developed this program called The Breach, which is an 8-session, we'll call it session. Usually I do it over 8 weeks. Program where we get a group of, I should say, service providers, right? So like veterans, family members, first responders, anybody that is that makes a business of serving others, opens themselves up to trauma, opens themselves up. They put themselves out there, and oftentimes they get burned in the process. Secondhand exposure, kind of sometimes. So. Get a group of those individuals that have been through those experiences. Let's get in a room. Let's get in a circle, and let's talk about it. And let's also use Shakespeare. Let's use Shakespeare as a way to frame that conversation, as well as I use the Army values because I'm from the Army. So I use the Army values as a framework for the discussion. And so what I've picked today is think of it as a week one. It would be the week one kind of a sample of what the breach would be. And so we're going to kind of go around and I'll run it basically like I do these classes in these sessions. So the very first thing that we do every single time is we open the circle. We're seated around in a circle right now. This is going to feel very, very familiar. If you've ever been in any kind of substance abuse program, it's going to feel very, very similar. There's a little turn on it. When we open the circle, we just basically say our name and what we're feeling that day. Very seldom do we get a chance to stop and go, well, how do I feel today? So we take that time. We just take that time to acknowledge what it is that we're feeling. And I always lead from the start and I say, hello, my name is Ben and I am excited. Okay. And then I'll pass it over to you.
So my name is Jeremy and I am happy.
Yep.
My name is Pat, and I'm blessed.
My name is Tony, and I'm happy.
My name is Josh, and I am blessed as well.
Nice.
My name is Bob, and the jury's out. I'm mixed between anxious and happy.
Nice. Well, thank you. So what is the circle? You all have some printouts. We usually with this, there's a book that goes along with it. Arts and crafts coloring book.
Crayons?
Yeah, I know, for the Marines in the room. But yeah, every week, and you get to look at what we're doing. And one of the things that we all agree on in the very first jump is we agree on some core values that we as a group are going to kind of try to emulate in our conversations. I think values are always a good place to start. Anything that you do. So you see there authenticity, curiosity, empathy, creativity, growth, integrity, openness, and vulnerability. And then I open it up and I say, are there any other values that you all think should be in there? Or are there values that you feel like should be excluded from there? Because every group decides on their values. And I'll leave it open to you guys.
Well, I could see where this list could definitely grow if we let it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm always big on the respect and dignity thing, right? Okay. I see that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one that I see that for me is huge in my life now is honesty.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
I was going to say humility.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Josh. We know that's my weakness.
I also think loyalty.
Yeah. Which is actually we're going to be looking at loyalty as a value and in our theme today. So good segue there. I do want to say this circle work is built on the work of Kurt Toftland, who is a Shakespearean practitioner. Teacher, guru. His work actually centers around incarcerated individuals. He has a program that he calls Shakespeare Behind Bars, and he goes into prisons and he brings Shakespeare to men that sometimes don't have a reading level above 6th grade, and all of a sudden they're doing Shakespeare 6 weeks later. So he's a really inspirational dude. He's very hippy dippy and kind of floating in the lotus position. But no, he's got some really great stuff. Talking about building the circle and a capacity for change, and that and the circle really revolving around breath. We breathe in, we breathe out, and it's all kind of a circle. And he has some questions, and I love these questions. I think that they're really important, and he just leaves them open-ended, but it's something I want you all to kind of ponder as we're talking through today. And they are, who am I? What do I love? What do I hate? How will I live my life knowing I will die? What are my gifts? And then I also really like to add, because, coming from the military, what do you carry? We talk about rucksacks and what's in your kit, right? What are you carrying and what do you choose to carry? And then what do you celebrate? I think oftentimes we are a reflection of what we celebrate, good and bad. Yeah. So, and then down here he talks about giving voice to trauma and shame. Because if you don't speak it, if you don't acknowledge it, it manifests in so many negative ways. I personally believe that almost every one of societal ills can be rooted back to trauma. Some trauma that happened that caused all of these things. And so he says it leads to mental illness, it leads to violence, it can lead to death. And then there's a few ground rules that we like to also honor that Kurt puts forward. No fixing. We're not here to fix each other. We're here to get better together, right? Being present, listening, not only listening with your ears, but listening with your heart. Really seeing and speaking from the eye is really important. When we don't speak from I, we get in trouble a lot of times. Now, you should do this. And then giving yourself permission to make mistakes. We're all here to get better. We're all here to make this day better. And we may step on our crank a couple times in the effort to do that, and that's okay. And then, I love this paragraph that he talks about. I'm not a facilitator. I am a facilitator. I'm not a therapist. This is not therapy. It's therapeutic. But it's us working together as a team to get better and to make the day better. All right. Any questions or thoughts on any of that?
Just a quick thought. Some of us here volunteered to go into prison, and we were there last night.
Yeah.
And since it's so fresh in my head, some of the things that you said, basically, we must do the work on ourselves.
Yeah.
We see these prisoners trying to fix each other.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because not a single one of us here want to go, hey, did you ever think for a minute why you are here?
Yeah.
Stop trying to fix the other guy. Work on yourself, man.
Isn't it so easy to go, well, I'll tell you all your problems, but I'm not going to talk about my problems.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
So.
And that's the funny thing is that you bring that up and you see the same thing whenever you go to do work in treatment centers.
That's right.
Same thing. You see this guy that has been in a program, had years of sobriety, relapsed, gone back into treatment, but yet he's going to tell all these young kids how to stay sober for the next 10 years, right?
Right.
So it's like, hey, man, listen, let's just work on you. Let's work on getting yourself to where you need to be sober again.
That's right.
Absolutely. That's right. I have found that the easiest way to shut somebody down is to tell them how to fix their problem. That'll just they'll just go, okay, and they'll just shut down,
Well, these guys, they want to curl up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here we go.
Right. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to this next page in the breach and week one. So week one, again, I use the Army values, which is the acronym of leadership. It's loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. So the first week we look at the value is loyalty. And we look at, and I just think it's fun to open up the old Webster dictionary and say, well, what does it really mean? What does Webster say it means? Well, it says a strong feeling of support or allegiance. And then I like to look at, how the different branches define loyalty. So you see there, the Marines say that it's the quality of faithfulness to country, corps, unit, seniors, subordinates, and peers. Army and Navy have the same definition: to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution, your unit, and other soldiers. And then the Air Force, an internal commitment to the success and preservation of something bigger than ourselves. What do you think? Do we have a clear winner here as far as
Army altogether?
And if we go week to week, sometimes it's like, man, Marine Corps really knocked it out of the park there. And then sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? The Air Force got it right that time. So I don't know. What do you think, Jets? Or anything that jumps out in the different definitions that you think?
I would have thought Air Force would have just said super.
Honestly, I think if you could just take all of them and combine them, there's qualities out of all of them, right?
Yeah.
the Marine Corps would take this quality of faithfulness to the country, and then in the Army and the Navy to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution, and then in the Air Force an internal commitment to success, prevention of something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
I think loading all of those together would be, I think, in my ideal definition of loyalty.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What's interesting to me is that you start with the Marine Corps, which kind of gives you faithfulness, and they talk about faithfulness to all of these entities, whether it be your team, your unit, your corps, your country. And then the Army Institute inserts Constitution in there. The Marines don't talk anything about Constitution. They're talking about unit and people, right? And then Air Force kind of goes even bigger than that, bigger than ourselves. They kind of even more nebulous. So,
super.
Yeah, right. And I think what's interesting about it is like, it can start to become, at least for me, again, speaking from the eye, for me, the bigger something gets, the more intangible it gets. The more it's kind of it's hard for me to kind of grasp. I can grasp being loyal to you as a buddy and being like, yeah, if you need me, I'm there, bro. It's a lot harder to be loyal to an institution, to a document, to a belief. That's where it gets harder. And I don't know. I'm not attaching a value to that at all. I just, in my brain, that's where I'm at on it.
I can see that. If we've all been in precarious situations, and the guy next to us is our battle buddy. But to tell me you're going into this, for the Constitution. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But wrapping my brain around it in a traumatic situation, no, I don't see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the thing that you hear the most? Like, why did you do Medal of Honor, winner? Why did you, pull that? Why'd you jump on that grenade? And they go, my buddy next to me. Yeah. They don't talk about Constitution. They don't talk about. They don't talk about any of that crap. Right. They talk about that dude next to me. Right. And so, I think it's important to remember, or not even remember, just acknowledge it. Know that it can be difficult when it gets larger. So let's flip over here to the back page, and all right, Shakespeare. All right, so. Henry V. Anybody ever heard of Henry V? No? Do you know the play at all?
No.
Okay. I'm going to give you like the really Cliff Notes version of Henry V. It's a history play by William Shakespeare. Henry V was a king in England. He's kind of considered one of the most badass kings. In his reign, he was able to end a over 100-year war with France. He conquered France, and for a short bit, he was king of England and France, and brought peace to the region. He's regularly considered one of the best English kings. He had a very famous battle called Agincourt in France, where he was greatly outnumbered. He used some pretty poo-poo hot tactics and archers to his advantage, and beat a whole bunch of armored French knights. And it was just a total landslide victory.
What time frame are we talking about?
1300s.
Okay.
Yeah, 1300s.
Question. Was they did a movie about one of the kings. Yeah. And Timothy Charlemagne? Okay, so that was Henry V.
That's Henry V.
Okay, yeah, I saw that movie, and it was really, really good.
Yep. And that's Agincourt.
I was curious how historically accurate it was. Yeah,
it's pretty accurate.
It was a good. It was really good. Yeah.
So the play is not totally. Shakespeare, like every writer, embellishes and compresses some things and changes some ages, and whatever else. So that's the Shakespeare version of Henry V. It's not totally historically accurate, but
well, I was going to ask
close.
you. You could talk about this forever, so I won't. But I was curious, what is there any facts regarding the King Henry challenging the French king to a battle, like him saying, why don't you and I settle this and fight? Like in the movie? Or?
So it's a little. I don't know if it was quite as dramatic as that.
Okay.
So the Dauphin, who's the French prince, they call him the Dauphin, the Dolphin. He was not even on the battlefield at that time, but the Dauphin did send Henry, according to history, tennis balls as an insult, basically saying you're a little boy, go play with the balls. Yeah. And Henry said, I will return this gift with cannonballs. And then quickly invaded the country and spanked that ass.
Go England.
So yeah. He was pretty badass dude. So that's Henry, and Henry, he was shot when he was 17 years old. He was shot in the face with an arrow, almost died in one of these wars or one of these battles. Went into his cheek, and they had a leading surgeon of the time, come in and create an instrument to extract that arrowhead out of his face. Yeah. So he's a pretty tough dude. So this is the play, and if you've ever heard the term Band of Brothers, this is the speech where that comes from. And so I pick this speech because it's something that we hear in thrown around a lot in the services, right? We hear Band of Brothers and all that. So this the Henry V play basically leads up. The climax of it is the Agincourt battle, and then he gets married to the French princess, and the kind of plays over. This is a lead up to the battle, and it's basically he's trying to rally the troops. He's trying to, everyone, they're like, man, we're going to get slaughtered. There's all these, armored French knights over here. We've got, they've got 1,000 armored French knights. We've got 200, and we've got a whole bunch of, guys with bows and arrows. We're going to get totally run over here.
Sounds like the Braveheart speech.
Basically, yes, absolutely, and that's where that Braveheart speech comes from. Yeah. You'll start to see, oh, wait a minute, they're just writing the same play over and over again, and changing the characters. Just getting Mel Gibson to play it this time. Nice. So, does anybody want to read this? Take a stab at it.
All the way through, or just a few lines?
Let's read a few lines, and let's just kind of go line by line and talk about what the words mean.
All right. I'll try not to have a funny voice. I feel compelled to. All
right. You want to talk? Hey.
Dost thou thine? Okay. All right. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. Crispian.
No, that's good.
Crispian. Mm-hmm. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when the day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors, and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. Is it Crispian or Crispian?
Crispian. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars, and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day.
Good. Let's stop there. All right. So this day is the Feast of Crispian, and St. Crispin was a English saint. It's basically the day. It'd be like July 4th, basically. It's the big national holiday, and it's normally they have a big feast, and they happen to have a battle here. And he's saying, well, this is this holiday, and anybody that survives this day and goes home is going to be able to stand tall and say, I was there at St. Crispin's Day. And every year when there's a feast, he's going to be able to pull up his show his battle wounds and say, I was there, right? So Sound familiar? Yeah. So I'm looking around the table. All of us mostly have some tattoos, and we all have some scars, some quotations of our times at war.
And we some you can see and some you can't.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And some we're proud of, and some we're less proud of. That's yeah.
I think you have a concurrence in the background.
Right. So the thing about it, you think about, let's see. So Crispin Day showed us the tattoos and the scars that we carry. It was just 9/11, right? And all of us around the table, I think, were serving, doing our stuff during those times, and all of us have tales to tell from those. And so I think I always think of 9/11 when I read this speech. Yeah. Anybody want to take the next little bit?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm like, I don't know how to do this without an accent. Like it's automatically going to come, right?
So I'll tell you this. So everyone thinks that like Elizabethan actors, talk like this and they're very proper. No, they weren't. They talked more like this. They sounded more like pirates. And so war actually sounded like war. And it was a very, very rough. And that I've heard that American, like Southern American especially, is actually more accurate to Elizabethan dialect than modern day British.
Oh, great. So we talk like rednecks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, they were basically rednecks.
Just use your normal hillbilly voice. You'll be fine.
Yeehaw, get my wrench.
All right. So old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth, as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury. I gotta say state now, Salisbury State, Gloucester, be in their flowing cups, freshly remembered. The story shall the good men teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by. From this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, but he nears so vile. This day shall gentle his condition.
Yeah. So, great. Wow. Yeah. So the other thing I should say, so you see how these lines, it's kind of like short. They're broken up in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So this is written in iambic pentameter, which is a fancy word of saying 5 stresses in a line. De-dum, 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 de-dum. Right. And that's why it's Crispian and not St. Crispin. And sometimes it is. So in this, and Crispian. So, and Crispian, right? So, de-dum. And Shakespeare uses this convention and then this uses this rhythm to great effect. So basically, whenever the rhythm is broken, to be or not to be, that is the question. So de-dum, 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 dum, right? There's something going on. There's a reason that character is breaking the rhythm. And usually it's something inside, some kind of turmoil, some kind of question, or they're doing it for emphasis. So there's another speech out of here. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more. It's important. Get there. Go, right? It's not unlike if you've ever seen a musical theater where the characters are so full of emotion that they break out into song. That's exactly what this is. They're so full of emotion. This is the only way that they can communicate. The best way that they can communicate. But there's something to that rhythm. It's a heartbeat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, and we'll kind of get more into that. So let's see. Let's just figure out what we're saying here. So old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. Basically, yeah, old men will forget, but we're not going to be forgotten. All right. We're not going to forget the things that we did today. Then shall our names. Now remember, this is a king. This is why Henry is I think Henry's such a cool character to study. Because he doesn't have to, he can order these people. He can just say, go, right? Mm-hmm. Charge the hill and die valiantly. But he doesn't do that. He says we a lot.
He's inspiring.
That's right. He's inspiring, and he's saying, and he's taking these common people and saying, you're going to be remembered. You're going to be remembered, calling them by name and basically bringing them up and saying, you are going to be kings by fighting. Harry the King, Bedford, exactly. So he's just going around. He's basically going around the formation and going, hey, you, hey, Private Snuffy, you're going to be a badass. You're going to be remembered. Right. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be remembered until the end of the world. And then he further drives it home. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. Wow. All right. So we're privileged to be here. We're privileged to be in this spot. And we're going to get into, so we started to get into it. So for he that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother again. So now he's saying that I'm no longer royalty and you're some lowly. No, you're my brother. We're forever connected. And that's what this be he ne'er so vile, meaning like, even if he's lowly, he's this, poor peasant. This day changes everything. And gentle his condition means he's now a gentleman. So now you're a gentleman. And then he turns it. So let's read the last little bit there.
And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed that they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day.
So yeah. So those gentlemen. So he's basically saying you lowly, you're now a gentleman, and those guys over there, the gentlemen, in England, they're going to hold their manhoods, basically. I would have served. I would have enlisted. I would have, if a drill sergeant said that to me, I'd have punched him in the face. Those people, right?
It makes me think of Gladiator after the battle that I can't even think of the name of our major character in that Russell Crowe played. Mm-hmm. Right after the battle, then the son of the king comes in and and he's like,
"You've missed the war."
I
missed the battle. No, you missed the war.
This is the guy on the sideline.
Yeah, his dad just straight busted him out. He's like, "Did I miss the battle?" No, you missed the war.
Right.
So that's that. That's the Crispian speech. Now, what I love about this is that I think I actually have on this QR code. This is a Marine giving a speech to a bunch of troops that are about to go out on, I think it's Fallujah or one of those major operations. And it's this captain, and he's got this giant dip in, and he's just like, "Oh, we're gonna go in there," But it's this speech in modern day. We're going to go out there. We're going to do great work. We're going to make good choices because we're the best trained. We're the right people to do this, and we are lucky to be here.
It's kind of like General Mattis.
Yeah.
No better friend, no worse enemy.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. And so we hear this. This reverberates even through today. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts on how this reflects loyalty.
I think so. One thing that comes into that is the story shall the good man teach his son. Mm-hmm. That's loyalty between a father and a son. Yeah. I think there's that. Yeah. The band of brothers, the brothership and that loyalty. Mm-hmm. And then the wounds I hold on Crispin's day, old men forgot, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day.
That's right.
Then shall our names. I think those words are really the ones that stick out with loyalty.
Yeah.
And it's that forever being remembered. And even though, like, you know, the way I look at it now is like we had this conversation just a little bit ago, you know, before the show. There are so many things that happened around September 11th that those stories have not been told.
Yeah.
That those are the stories that we need to be remembering.
Yeah. I mean, what's the tag phrase with September 11th? Never forget.
Yeah.
Never forget.
And let's roll.
Right.
With Todd Beamer.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I think where we get, let's talk about the flip side of it. Where do we do that? Or is that still going on? Are we, we're 20 years plus, 25 years plus after 9/11 now?
Yeah, 24.
24, yeah. And, do you guys feel like it's remembered? Do you feel like it's being?
I mean, I work with a lot of people, young people now that they'll say I heard about it in school, but them being able to share in that day is, it's starting to go away. So
right.
but that was definitely a day for so many that, spoke of loyalty, where the country came together and, whether it be, and then, agencies, military, all of that came together. I feel like with a united, just a focus and everything. So
sure. What about your, well, go ahead.
I just think it's very difficult for the population that Josh is talking about that was not alive. Because if you look at it now, the young soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors that are joining, were born in like 2007.
Right.
And so, we as leaders and fathers and everything, we talk about it to them, but for them to really feel the feelings that we felt on that day, you just, you can't replicate that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure if you sat a bunch of World War II guys around and asked about Pearl Harbor, they would say the exact same thing.
Right.
Because time just, it's going to erode away that. And that next generation comes up and go, why are you so upset about that? Or it's not that big of a deal. It's not, they just can't grasp what it was. I also think about, personally, just the trajectory of my life from that day. And it's, I had a million Agincourts, not a million, but I had several little Agincourts throughout my career, moments, and I continue to have Agincourts. I don't think the battles stop, right? You're on a trajectory and you either choose to honor your band of brothers or you don't. And that's I think that's the real loyalty test is, honoring your band of brothers, right? It's like getting up every day and choosing to take the fight the good fight. Right.
So I can identify, and I didn't think about this until you actually brought this up. So, my grandfather was at Pearl Harbor and, okay. I'm growing okay. I have relatives that were in Vietnam. I was in diapers. Okay. And then I watched, I learned that, my grandmother escaped the Holocaust. Yeah. Okay. Then I saw Schindler's List. And he did such an amazing job with that it brought it to home for me. Right.
Yeah.
But then, I like you guys, I went through my training and I was a tanker and when Kuwait went down in 91, my brother got shipped over right away.
Yeah.
He was a master mechanic. So
Yeah.
he shipped out first wave. I got left on the tarmac because the war was over before it started.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool on one hand, but on the other hand, I felt like I couldn't be there.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I trained for.
Yeah.
You know, to go there for the Constitution, for the flag.
Right.
And I don't get to do my part. And I remember with a bunch of other guys feeling like crap because of that. Mm-hmm. And then I reflected on the guys that were 4F'd for World War II that were suiciding because they couldn't do their part. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think about any of this until you just brought it up right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, we talk about reflection on the past and the memories and thoughts, and it takes me back to, you know, something that Bob said is, like, my grandfather was in World War II. Mm-hmm. He was in Alaska when the Japanese attacked. Yeah. You know, he was in Europe during, you know, the D-Day invasion. Yeah. He was there in 1945 in Europe whenever V-Day. Uh-huh. And by the time I really got to where I was interested in that, he had been gone for years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know, and so those stories I'll never hear.
Forget.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I share a similar experience. I mean, both my grandfathers were they had their part in World War II.
Yeah.
One of my grandfathers, he was one of the code, interpreted the Japanese codes.
Oh yeah,
he was one of the code breakers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so pretty cool. But they said he never really talked about it. So I don't. My dad said he never really talked about it, but my other grandfather, he was at Midway. And what's funny is, you know, it wasn't until he passed many years later that, and I think it was some of those more realistic, you know, some of those films that were so hyper realistic, what's his name? That the director that
Tom Hanks?
Spielberg. Yeah. He just made things so amazing to put you there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I saw those kinds of things that made me really start to appreciate what both, you know, my grandfathers probably went through.
Absolutely.
I was just kind of one of those, it's like, golly, you know, I wish I had been more interested back then when I was younger to ask more questions, because I'm sure they probably would have shared it.
Yeah.
I know my grandfather, one of his he was a big hunter and a fisherman, and one of the most proud things he ever had in his possession was this knife, and it was a Bowie knife, but he made it at Midway out of Jeep and airplane parts that had been destroyed from the bombs and all of that.
Yeah.
And he salvaged these parts and made this Bowie knife, and like he gave it to my brother, who's the oldest. He's got it up in a shadow box today, and it's got his initials in it. It's got the date, 1945, Midway Island. I mean, it's crazy, and it's like, wow, you know, and you know, I don't know. I guess it took some maturing to look back and appreciate that, and to be like, oh my gosh, you know, to know those people were a part of history, and they had something very special.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Ben, how do you tie all this back to your loyalty?
Well, that's what I want to say. So what we're touching on is, when we talked about Band of Brothers, right? We talked about being loyal, and that, you know, and loyalty is a concept being hard, you know, the larger it gets. And that, you know, when you talk about soldiers, you know, or people, Medal of Honor winners, awardees, they typically will say, well, I was just doing it for the guy next to me. And I want to echo also talk about, you know, our grandfathers and those that came before us, and also those that are coming after us. And the thing, and then highlight Henry V. We're talking about a 400-year-old play, and when the play was written, it was about something that happened 200 years before that. So, but soldiers don't change. The tactics change, the weapons change, but it sucks being in the mud today, and it sucked back then, and it'll suck tomorrow. You know, and so the loyalty that I want to highlight is the loyalty that we have to each other, because this is the Band of Brothers, and there is a through line and a connection all the way back from Agincourt to today, that men and women in combat or in stressful situations, and combat is a very large term because first responders see combat every single day. In those situations, have to rely on each other, and that's how they get through it. And where I feel like we lose our way is when we forget that, and we get out of the service, or we take the uniform off or whatever, and then all of a sudden we feel like we don't have our brothers next to us.
Mm-hmm. We lose connection.
That's right.
We lose that feeling of belonging to something that's greater.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to remember, and I think it's incumbent upon us as elder statesmen these days, to remember that, to honor that, speak it, because what I was trying to get at, or what I was getting at with the younger generation is they did exactly what we did. And they're going to have their own 9/11, and they're going to have the exact same experiences. They're going to be different from ours. But it'll be different. It'll be different weapons, different tactics, all that, different place, but it'll be the same stuff.
Mm-hmm. Dang.
That's a good point, right? That's good.
It's real easy for us to go, well, they don't these kids these days, sure. They're damn cell phones and blah, blah, blah. But it's all the same stuff.
Good point.
I was going to say, I've caught myself recently last year or two being just like my grandfather, where I'm, man, this generation, man, these kids.
Yeah, I know. I do it too. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is just like you were talking about your grandfathers and not having those stories. I think it's incumbent upon us to share those stories.
Oh, wow.
It's we need to share those stories. We need to not be shy about saying, hey, all of us are humble, and we don't want to go out there and look at me, I'm look at my war stories, but it is important to share your experiences with those coming up, because they want to know them, they want to hear them, and it'll help guide them in their decisions and their choices.
The guys that the example you just gave of tell their war stories, they weren't there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Isn't it funny how that happens?
They end up becoming politicians, and somebody fact checks them in, the rest of the story. But then those, like our grandfathers that didn't talk about
that's
it,
right.
It's, it would have, and not always the case. They did open up to those they saw as warrior spirited future leaders of America, but they didn't open up to just those that want to be entertained.
Yeah.
Because I have some warrior friends that have shared with me, and I'm honored that they did.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell anybody else that. And I'm like, okay, so that means what do I do with that? Well, it means I need to step up. If they told me that means they saw something in me that maybe I don't see in myself. So maybe I am more than just, a coward at heart, because sometimes I feel like a coward at heart,
Yeah,
I don't know.
we all do.
Sense.
No. I think we all do. I think it's, we choose, you said earlier, internal scars, or the scars that are inside, and showing your scars, and what do you choose to show? What do you choose to hide? And maybe it's not, getting up and saying, well, these are my scars. No, it's more, being a service, being a help, and helping that person, recognizing that in someone and helping them, giving them, helping them out the hole. Right. Is a big thing. And I don't think it's as transactional as you just get up there and tell your story and then you're absolved of everything, right? It's more about doing, you know. All right. I'm going to transition over. So on the very back, so every week I would give a homework assignment, for lack of a better term, a weekly challenge. And so this, if you're anybody familiar with Simon Sinek? Anybody know that guy?
Yes.
Say it again.
Yeah. Simon Sinek.
No.
So he's a business guy. He does like
TED Talks.
Yeah, TED Talks and stuff. And he did a TED Talk really early on about, and it's really geared towards business, but he says that people buy why you do something. They don't buy what you do or why or how you do it. They buy your why. And I like to think about this as, and he can say a lot of businesses can tell you what they do. Like, okay, we make cars, right? They can tell you how they make the cars. Well, we've got a plant and we've got this and we've got that and this many computers and this many, production lines, but they can't tell you why. So if you think about really, really successful brands, Apple, those kind of companies, they can tell you the why is like, really, it's not about phones or computers. It's how it makes you feel. It's if you watch their marketing, it's just like, the old Gap ads where like no one ever said anything. They were just dancing around in jeans, because they wanted you to feel like if you buy Gap jeans, you're going to dance around fancy free and have this great time. Right. Where I kind of come back to is, so what I do, so I'm going to kind of model this. So what I do is I'm a theater artist, I'm a director, an actor, educator, blah, blah, blah. And I do theater. I do these kind of meetings, but why I do it because I believe in service. I believe in service, to others. I think the greatest thing that you can do for someone is to serve them. And I think that service comes in a variety of forms, but ultimately I want all relationships to leave all relationships better than I found them. I want to leave someplace better than I found it. I want to lift others up and I want to provide a platform for them. That's my why. I think just like when we were opening the circle, and I said, very few times do we stop and go, how am I? Where am I today? What am I feeling today? Very few times do we ask, why am I doing this? So I'd be, if you're comfortable, I would love to hear you go through the circle and say your why. And if you don't know, you don't know. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's a deep question. I mean, like it's a really deep question, and it's really peeling the onion.
I'll go. But I want to hear Pat's why next. Okay, I do. I want to hear Pat's why next.
Maybe not next. But.
You use that word service, and that was it's ironic that's exactly because that's where my life is today.
Yeah.
And it's not where my life was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Sure. Right. But what am I? I no longer work. I no longer am in the military. What is my identity? My identity today is I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a friend. I'm a grandfather. I'm a son. I'm a brother. How do I do that?
Yeah.
Well, I try to lead my family by the example that I would have wanted my family led by, living whenever I was out there making all of those wrong choices and the things that I was not doing back in that particular point in my life.
Yeah.
And so how do I get there? Well, I live life of service, service to my son, my daughter, my wife, my parents, my sisters, my nephews, my nieces, my friends. And it goes beyond that. It's to the brothers that I haven't even met yet.
Oh, wow.
Because if I don't continue living the life that I am right now, I will never be able to be of service to somebody that I haven't met. Because I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
It's a mic drop right there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's good.
beautiful.
Follow that one up, Pat.
Smarter man than that, there, Bob. You don't come after the man.
But what you did is a perfect way to kind of crack this nut, is to think about, what do you do? What are you currently doing? All the different, and there are many facets of us, right? If I were teaching an acting class, I'd say you wear a lot of masks, right? Because we put on the mask of, of dad, or we put on the mask of like good employee, or whatever. Wherever we are, we kind of adapt and change and code switch, whatever you want to say it. We change how we interact with people. But you can kind of say, okay, these are the things that I do, and this is what I do. And then the next layer of that onion is, well, how? Okay, well, I go to classes, or I teach classes, and I go to work, and I do, all the things that you do, how you do it. But then you start to kind of go, okay, well, where's the connective tissue? What's the real purpose in all this? And like you said, there may be points in our lives where we're really not happy with our why. We may not be real. It may take us to a place where we're like, you know what? My why is not really where I want it to be. And shit, man, we just change. We just say, okay, I want to change. I'm going to change my why to this. And you do it. Yeah. So really great exercise. I got this in a group that I work with artists, and I do this exercise about twice a year, because every time I teach this course, I do the thing with them, and it doesn't change that much, but boy, it sure is a good azimuth check, right? Sure. Like it's a really good, like, let me look at the compass and make sure I'm still going on, 183 degrees or whatever it is. It's a good way for me to check in and get the pulse and go, okay, yeah, everything's good. Or maybe I need to adjust some things. The other thing I'll say to that, if it is counteractive to your why, if it's something that you're taking on, and it's like, and you look at it and you start putting on the what, and then you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't feed my why. Maybe it's time to reevaluate those activities.
To your point, I was thinking about there obviously was a time, where I said many a times, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like when it came to the work that I did or anything else, definitely periods in my life where I would say, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I could not answer that.
Absolutely.
And so, it wasn't until some years of recent, mainly when I came into a program of recovery, that I eventually started to be able to answer that why.
Yeah.
And it was to your point about that being of service, that I learned in the program, but I was able to apply to pretty much every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
Whether it was to family, like Jeremy said, to the people that I loved and be able to service of them, to the people that I worked with that work under me, to my brethren and sisters in the program. I mean, whatever it was, and and I really like what you said because the why is because there is no greater service than to be of service to others.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes that's even, from our experience, that sometimes that's even to be of service by giving of your life. So, but anyway.
Yeah. And that's why this works in this group, because typically this group's going to be pretty service minded. Everyone's going to be like, yeah, it's going to be kind of the same thing. Versus if you were to like do this in just a general, we're going to poll the people of Kroger. You might get some different answers of their whys. Yeah.
Bob, I thought we were just doing Shakespeare. What the hell?
To be or not to be?
Go and stare myself at the mirror and say, why?
Saying goodnight is such sweet sorrow that I can say night till it be morrow.
That's pretty deep.
Pickup line.
Yeah. Pretty deep.
Well, gents, that's a sample of what
Pretty
the
awesome.
breach is. We go, that's just toe in the water, and what we do is every week we go through these things. We have these conversations. It goes in all different directions.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm gonna close the circle. So we kind of close because normally what we do is we close it out, and then Bob, I'll turn it back over to you to kind of close out the show.
Okay.
So I am Ben, and I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful. Awesome.
Nope, you go. No, you go.
I'm Jeremy, and I'm very grateful that I got to be here today to experience this.
I'm Pat, and I'm still blessed. It's a pleasure being for the second time, and very blessed. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Tony. I didn't know what to expect out of this, but I feel gratitude. Something that you're doing, with others. Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Thanks, man.
I'm Josh. I'm still blessed, and I'm honored.
All right. So, I'm Bob, and I'm going to say I'm enlightened. A lot of things that went through my mind that obviously I didn't share. I think you all can identify things went through your mind. And I think you put a little bit more, Ben, I think you put a little bit more fuel into my purpose.
Oh.
I came into this happy yet anxious because I'm always wondering, am I doing the right thing? Yeah. Even on this show, I've shared this with you guys before. Y'all know me pretty well. But just you going through this process, made me feel like, hey, I am on the right track. I'm not left on the tarmac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
So I do have one question.
Yeah, please.
If we have somebody out there in the listening audience that would like to be involved in this program, how is it delivered and how would they get in touch with you?
So you can reach me. I've got several different emails. I'm going to give you my, this Riverside Actors Theater. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to give you my personal email address. It's Benjamin, BenjaminBenjamin .s. as in Scott or Sierra .grimes Grimes @gmail.com. Anybody email me and I will gladly invite you to a program. I'm going to stand up an online version of this and offer those kind of quarterly, I think, if I'm able. Because I think that the net is cast pretty wide. And so for me trying to do it in a geographic location with me in Kentucky and down here and everything, but I feel fairly certain I can do a online version of this and offer it for you guys. So the other part of this, the really cool part of it, when I do it in person is over the 8 weeks, we share stories, but we're also developing a story. And at the end of the 8 weeks, we all get up on stage and we tell stories. And a little 5-minute story. It can be like, it doesn't have to be some, heart tear-jerker. It can be like, the time that your first sergeant glued his thumb or his tooth to his thumb. Really happened. Super glued his tooth to his thumb. That's a good one. But yeah, it can be something that, humorous or whatever, but it just gives, because the whole point of this is to remove the stigma of PTS, remove the stigma of service, and to provide a platform for those who have served us and deserve to be heard.
Yeah, and I want to one thing that you just said, and I want to ask this question, and I know that you may be able to speak to this, and Bob can probably speak to this too. So you used PTS because I do not like the D, because whenever we say PTSD,
That's
and
right.
you say that I have a disorder,
That's
all of a sudden I am non-functional and different.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Nobody's broken. We can heal. We can heal.
There's also another acronym out there that Sheepdog uses, which is PTG,
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
post-traumatic growth.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard that. Okay. I like that. Nice. See, I'm learning shit. That's good. No, that's good. That's great. There's so much stigma around it. And I feel like the more we speak it out loud, and the more we talk about it, and the more we show that, like, we're not broken. We're not, you can move beyond this. The more we speak truth to power, right? And the more we shine the light on the scary monster in the corner.
Wow, there is so much more we could do on this topic right here. I mean, if I were to say it starts with will and honest and open and all that stuff, we could just go down a whole nother rabbit trail on how we can deal with trauma. But obviously we're going to close this show out, but it gives us an opportunity to continue again with this group, and even some other folks that couldn't make it today. Ben, next time you're coming into town, if you could give us a heads up, we can do another just roundabout. I don't know what we'll do, but that's what this podcast is about anyway, man. It's just about bringing hope to the hurting.
Yeah.
And I would say to the folks that listen to this show today, wow, you really opened up by giving out your personal email. God bless you. I don't even do that. In fact, none of the audience knows who we are, but we can all look you up. So you open up that flak jacket, brother. God bless you.
Yeah, bring it.
Wow.
I want it.
Well, we got your back, so if it gets overwhelming, you come back to the circle. You are a part of the band of brothers, man.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody have any other thoughts before I do our closing? All right. Well, what say you folks on today's show? I would really like your feedback. And, you can go to shoutoutfromthepit.com. There's a comment there, opportunity to share with us. Our phone number is there, too. If you want to leave a voicemail, that's fine. I'd really like to hear your feedback. So share that with us. All right, so that's it. Thanks for listening, and please share your show with folks that could use some encouragement and extra tools for their recovery journey. The Buck Bucket is up. Hit the donation link on shoutoutfromthepit.com and help us update this crappy equipment and grow the show. And be sure to subscribe at shoutoutfromthepit.com for future episodes. It's for free and for fun. That's a Ralph line, but I got to use it. Remember, if you think that you're alone, you're not. And if no one's told you they love you today,
We love you.
God bless you. And as always, this is the Bob the Old Rucker, praying you're having an outstanding American day. With that, peace out.
Arg.
Arg.